didn't look twice, you didn't laugh. So you didn't go, so we have to bring it back in.
You're going to wait me out.
Just like to do a real quick high-level overview of the budget for you. Mark will get into some of the specifics of the 2010-2011 budget. A couple of key things for the year. Revenue is projected to be $5.4 million. We're looking at total expense of $3.9 million. Generating a net operating profit of $1.5 million. Our debt service requirements here at the authority are about $1.2 million. That leaves $300,000 and change to fund our capital plan. We have a $20 million capital plan. Our portion of that capital plan comes to $600,000. So at the end of the day, we would have a negative net cash flow, basically pulling $290,000 out of our savings, financing the capital project. A couple of key points. You can see in the various columns the Marine Terminal, Industrial Park, Airport, Bridge, and the overall total. And we have hard copies here for everybody as well. And of every dollar we earn, 72 cents goes to expenses, leaving 27 to 28 cents left over. Cash generators at the authority are the Marine Terminal and the Bridge. Cash users at the authority are the Industrial Park and the Airport, respectively. This is our $20 million capital plan overall. This is our $600,000. It's our portion. Where is the $20 million going in terms of capital improvements? $13 million of that goes to the bridge. $2 million goes to the airport. $4.5 million to the Marine Terminal, and a little under $100,000 going to the Industrial Park. One couple key notes here for big projects. Our bridge deck replacement, that is a $20 million project that's spread over 2 years. So really, it's we split it up, $10 million here, $10 million for next year. Another big project that's ongoing, it will be ongoing next year, will be the $3.2 million total relocation. The taxiway rehabilitation project that was mentioned by CNS when they were here earlier. There's the obstruction removal project totaling the $2 million. The port access road, we currently have an application out right down to the 2005 Transportation Bond Act. That's critical to our future based on wind turbine projects going on in the region. We currently have a $2.8 million rail improvement application that's out there as well. Total 4.2 Marine Terminal. Not much to say about the industrial park other than there's some pretty critical paving that needs to be done out there. And our portion, as I mentioned, is $600,000 of that $20 million. Any high-level questions before we turn it over to Mark for detail? Detail about the operational expenses and revenue?
Well, I'm still concerned with the industrial park that it's still a cash user.
Until that building gets filled, right?
Yes. This will essentially go away or substantially go away once Building 14 is fully filled. This will position the park not to be a generator, but probably best case neutral. But the real concerning thing here in my mind is actually the airport. We've got some vulnerability here because the airport doesn't generate a lot of revenue, as you see. It does have a lot of expense associated with it, and it could have a lot more, particularly when things like our 5-year LEO agreement, our law enforcement reimbursement agreement with the government expires. That agreement could easily throw that substantially north of $275. On average, that's a typical loss for the airport, about $300,000 per year. But that doesn't mean that it should continue along those lines. So we do need to have some hard conversations going forward about the airport. Because as you can see, when you look at the cash generated, all the cash that's generated at the Marine Terminal is essentially used up by the airport. Conversely, you're using about 2/3 of what the bridge generates. you look at it. Wade, if you weren't an authority, most businesses will shut it down. Absolutely.
Well, but you have to remember, years ago when Danny was here, we actually talked about that idea. But we get so many grants that we otherwise wouldn't get if we didn't get them through, because we have the airport for plows and things like that, that actually that is like a hidden asset that otherwise
would show up on a balance sheet.
Right, because we're able to use that plow truck for there, for everywhere else we wouldn't have a grant for.
And here's an excellent example. We spend 32, round numbers, 33,000 of authority funds to get $2 million in grants to improve the facility. It's a no-brainer any day of the week we do that. But the problem is that one of the fundamental issues are that it drains off cash from other areas. That's the downside.
Well, as Mary said, though, that if you're getting equipment through these grants that you can use on other projects, that's money you don't have to spend out of the budget. So I don't think you factor that in.
That's right.
So it's not really a loss of $275,500. It could be a lot less than that. The truck costs you $100,000. So
Right, we got a grant.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. Apples and pineapples.
Danny Manfred, years ago we talked. We actually seriously considered. Remember, we got it as a gift from the committee. The gift that gives you and we seriously considered shuttering it.
Well, that's probably why the
And then we also were ridden pretty hard because of our industrial park is heavy and light. They said, if you do that, we're not going to have plane access for people that come in who, years ago, we used to have ACO, correct me, Ogdensburg, yes, we used it. That might tell that they actually needed that, and otherwise they wouldn't use all other services. Same thing with railroad, cargo.
We own a lot of land out there anyway, don't we, out by the airport?
Yes.
So that's your next best, because you don't have as much over here, because you can't get it unless you get it from the state. That would be your next place to develop another, quote, park.
But no, South things are so much different, though. You have teleconnections where you can do conferencing through computers. You don't have to fly people in for things. But back then, those were the considerations why we didn't do it. And back then, it was no-brainer to shut it down, except for all those intangibles.
So that's a discussion we need to have going forward.
We have to try to put some numbers on those intangibles now, I guess.
One of the big issues, though, here, too, is we would affect the senior airport in Watertown at that time. It has to be, what I understand, 3 airports have to be within a 50-mile radius.
To get essential air service?
That's what I'm understanding.
No, I didn't know that, okay.
There was that, you're right, Mary, we did talk about at one time making an arrangement with Watertown and Messina to become
give it away, so to speak.
Right, but we were going to be the commercial airport,
Yep.
develop our 500 and some acres out there. And we talked about that, and I know for a fact that I was at one meeting with Dan, and we just generally talking over a bit lunch about something like that. And we'll see the people straight away from that.
One thing to also consider too is we do have essential air service. Essential air service expires in September. Cape Air has been a wonderful air service provider. That being said, when essential air service does come up for bid, there's obviously no guarantee it will be Cape Air at the end of the day. What that means is, if we go from a 9-passenger plane back up to an 11-plus passenger plane, what that means is, presto pango, we're all of a sudden going to have new firefighting costs out there. And veteran board members recall those costs were upwards of $65,000 a year to provide firefighting services. So that's another thing we need to pay close attention to.
Well, when the quotes come in, too, and we submit the information, we can always add that as a narrative, I guess, right?
Absolutely.
And although this one's cheaper, it's actually going to cost more because now we have ARF and Leo and... Good.
That's all I had for a high-level presentation. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to our CFO. And
You get low level?
specifically before I do that. Well, specifically before I do that, though, I do want to compliment Mark and nice job putting this together fairly short. Thanks. Thank you, Mark.
All right, just to stay at the high level real quick, it's out of my league, but the combined budget, which is one of the white pages here, you'll see this year's budget, last year's budget, and last year's actual, and that's the way we're we're told to report this to the state, so that's why we see these 3 columns. But just a quick history here. You see the 33109 actual had a net cash positive flow of $439,000. We budgeted that year for $3,000, so we exceeded our budget by about $436,000 in 2009. In 2010, so far year to date, we budgeted pretty much a break even. We're exceeding our budget by a positive $128,000. So even though this year we have a $289,000 shortfall, with the recent history, makes that a little less alarming than it might be. Okay. We'll go to the bridge fund, which is, I would call this brown paper.
How much I did that?
And we're taking a lot of time with the bridge fund. Don't fall asleep quite yet, because a lot of these pages won't go. We want to win a part fund. Anybody? Thank you. Page one. What do you need?
Mark, does the current budget ever been approved?
No, and I talked to them. They called Monday of this week with questions on the executive budget tables we submitted. And now I was told it's on the last desk before it goes out the door. But no timeline or why it's taking so long. Just that they're busy.
Gee. The state's been...
Did that work with the IRS?
Remember that?
No.
Where is he? Call that later.
It's on the last desk.
So if we jump into page 2 of the bridge fund, that's our revenue. And what I'll try to do is just give you some of our assumptions, and I'll hit on some of the items that have gone up and down dramatically. So of course our big driver here is the bridge revenue, $1,855,000 budgeted. And what I've done there is I've taken the 33109 actual revenue, that's a budgeted, and I took a 3% increase on that to come up with this year's budget. And I used 3%, which is what we're up this year compared with that traffic last year of 09. So the actual crossing figures between 2009 and this year so far shows a 2.9% increase. GSA, of course, is out there at the border station, the $1 million rent. Along with that $1.1 million rent, there's also $800,000 in debt service. So that number, although it's very large, most of that goes to debt. And that is in year 6 or 7 of a 15-year lease. The other rent income, the duty-free shop is the big item there. And we see a couple of things gone this year. T-Base is gone, and UPS supply chain is gone. And Dr. Brackman's gone out of this office, this building. But we've added Barbara Fleet upstairs.
Bracken's not with us anymore?
No. He's been out for a while. And that is where you see the anticipated prospect about halfway down, $6,000. In his space, we've got about a half year of rent income in there. And everybody else is known except for that. Now, the interest income budgeted is quite a bit lower than last year. That's due to the rates that we're receiving. We're still working on that, but we're getting about 1 to 2% right now.
Also following Canadian customers, shall we say. Did he get someplace else?
He decided to close his practice. Pages 3 and 4 are the salaries and wages. I'll spend a little time here as it's our largest expense. Overall, wages are up 1.2%. And I'll just hit the main categories here. Management, that's the same number of people as we had last year, which is up 2.8% over last year, which is the minimal raise, if you will, for the policy. The toll collectors, there's a small change there. We've added a 5th toll collector, so we have one more full-time person out there, but we've reduced the need for relief toll collectors to make up for that. So overall, we're up 5% on the toll collectors for about $11,600. And the relief toll collectors went from $40,000 down to $12,000, and the overtime is up, but so that change is about 11 to 12 grand. Maintenance is actually down 1.3%, and there's a few reasons for that. It's the same number of full-time people. However, near the bottom of that list, where we start with temporary longshoremen, Last year's budget was 60, this year's only 50. The temporary bridge crew, last year's budget was 68,000, this year is 60,000, and how we arrived at that is the actual seasonal wages out there for the last 2 or 3 years. It's closer to 60 than 68. The summer maintenance help went from 45 down to 39,000, and again, that's because of the actual numbers. The mason and welder stayed the same, and overtime is about the same. And the temporary bridge crew, just as 4 employees at 6 months. I think we had about 6.5, 7 months in there in prior years. The support staff is the same number of people. That's up 3.9% because of a new longevity award for $1,000.
Bless you.
Thank you. In the finance department, again, the same number of full-time employees. The only change there is the overtime went from 1,000 down to 500, and that's up 2.7%. So you see overall we're up 1.2%. Page 5 is the employee benefits. And the first column of this is the total for the authority, both bridge and port, and then you see our allocations. Down at the bottom section of this report, you'll see it's $717,000 budgeted this year, compared with $643,000 last year, and there's a couple of things there. Health insurance is up $19,000, or 7%, and that's due to a few things. The pure premiums, which is our premiums to the health insurance company, is up $19,000. The medical claims, our self-funded portion, is up $7,000, and that's an estimate based on the last few years' actual. And the prescriptions are down about $5,000. So that's up 7% overall. Retirement is up 42%, or $55,000, and that's due to an increase in the state's retirement rates due to that lagging stock market, yes. Workers' comp rates are down, so we'll see a small drop there. And those are the big movers.
Mark, I could do the math. You probably already know. What are we going for percentages now of Benny's to salary?
I think it's about,
a third.
it's about 40%, 42%.
Yeah.
I was figuring yesterday. Yeah, about 42%, that's what it usually runs. Page 6 is maintenance. And page 7, janitorial building maintenance. Nothing's really moved too much there. $154,000 last year, $164,000 this year. I see in building, the boiler repairs gone up from 6 to 12 for some needed repairs, probably expected repairs.
Where is that at?
Page
boiler repairs, I see it.
Yep, under the building maintenance.
Mark, I'm lost on something here. Yep. When you put in salaries for all the people here, you put them into the port fund and also into the bridge fund. Well, why do you do that? Why do you budget it that way? I mean, I see.
Why are you breaking them up?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, there'd be proportion of what your budget would be for bridge, for your salary portion for.
That's how it's allocated based on time.
Okay, but I'm saying my question is, you show, I'll just say, toll collector in here. Oh, I'm going to say, okay, that wouldn't be good. We'll say stenographer in one and stenographer in both. Just over your salaries. You're jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm just saying. Your salary, her salary shows up in the port, and it also shows up in the bridge fund.
Yes. Yes, the first column.
Let me explain that to me.
The first column, if you look at pages 3 and 4, you want to look at page 4, the total compensation is the annual salary or wages for an employee.
Okay.
And then the next 4 columns, bridge, marine terminal, industrial park, and airport, is the allocation of that first column.
What page are you on?
Page 4.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he splits it up.
Okay, but that comes over.
It's the same page. It's the same page.
Okay.
So really, that makes sense.
Bridge fund.
Right, I understood
That was on the
that.
fourth.
Right, okay.
But really, for the bridge, we should be concentrating on that second column, $762,000.
Right, that's what's throwing me off, the second column, not the first column, okay. Gotcha.
But you're talking about, this is allocated on time spent, how scientifically do you track that?
Not really scientific. Maintenance is pretty scientific.
Yeah, that'd probably be easier to do than...
For my staff,
Give them self-report?
no. I usually talk to them twice a year. It's really not super scientific, though. No.
You can actually see those allocations on the very top of, actually second line on page 5. You can see the allocations how it's broken out between the bridge terminal and the industrial park.
What I'm thinking of is, we were talking a little earlier, if the airport looks like a big loser, maybe we should look at these allocations. I don't know if that fits or not, but it's something to look at in the long run.
When I say it's not scientific, I don't think we're too far off. Maybe 3-4% maybe in an area at the most. And different years,
Might as well face it, the airport is a big loser.
yeah.
That's not going to make a huge difference, no?
Yeah.
9% of the wages.
Does that answer your question, Sam?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. And then page 5, the employee benefits statement is the same thing. We have a total expense on page 5,
Okay.
broken down between the different departments. Okay, so the maintenance is pretty much in line with last year. Page 8 is the bridge maintenance, and that's our seven-month season. No big changes there. Page 9, we talked about a little bit earlier today, is the safety inspection. Budget of $130 for the biennial, and $18 for anything that may pop up. Page 10, utilities.
Did you guys say we're going to go back and recompute based on the sonar equipment they had?
Yes.
Did I record us? I hope that means lower, Mark.
Lower, right?
They should
I could. Yeah. Utilities, water and sewer went up a little bit because of the city's rates, and then the other two are kind of based on actual there. Well, they're not kind of, they are based on the last audited numbers. The insurance on page 11, again, if you go on to the last half of that, you'll see a breakout of our policies. 251 budgeted this year, 250 last year. And how we get to the 251 is the actual for this year is 228,000. And I used a 10% increase to come for that. I talked to Joe LeClaire last week, not telling him what I kind of used for a number, and he says the market is still soft. He doesn't expect a huge increase, if any increase at all. So I think that's, hopefully we're going to come in under budget there. Now what I'll do on this, if you look at the commercial package, 112,000. Auto, the next line I have nothing. That actual breakout is 89,000 and 23,000. And I'll put those numbers in there before I submit this. It won't change the total though. And we did have one large claim this year, 80,000 for the hailstorm, which may affect our policy. But other than that, Joe's predicting a soft market.
And that would fall under which category then?
That would be the commercial package, I believe. Yeah.
Those nights have gone. Change our rates.
Well, maybe I did wrong, but we haven't had a claim in a number of years. That was the first we've had in quite a while. Page 12, advertising and promotion, it's down 19%, 85 to 68. And generally, travel and trade shows are down 12,000, and everything else is pretty small compared to that number. Page 13 is the professional fees. That's down 21%, down to 130,000. Was 165 budgeted the year before. You'll see legal went down 26,000. We're not anticipating a major day in court. Is why that went down.
Not yet.
And the
I wish you didn't get filed apparently.
The annual audit, 24,000. That's the final year of the contract. The auditors are under, so that's a no number. And 2010 was slightly higher because it included the first year of the actuaries' work. So that went from 26 to 24. Payroll preparation, 4,000. That's probably going to be a little high. Our current company just reduced their prices, and we have another company, Paychex, looking to do some business with us. And I think that might be closer to 25 or 3,000. Information technology is Jim Crowley. Law enforcement coverage is the overtime for the local police department at the airport for the commuter flight. The fire training is kind of dropped off the map now.
Could I interject real quick? Sure. The law enforcement coverage, that's an agreement that we have with the city of Ogdensburg where you split the overtime coverage 50-50. That portion is not covered by the grant. But the figure that you don't see there is the actual law enforcement cost. So, thanks, Mark.
Grants get compensated too, don't they?
What's that?
The city?
It's a pass-through agreement with the Vision Board voter.
But I thought, maybe not.
We contract with the city to provide video services at the airport. We have a Leo agreement with the U.S. government that basically funds that, and then we turn around and pass that through to the city.
Okay.
And the only exception to that is the overtime. The overtime is not funded by the grant.
So that's what comes out of our budget.
Yes, the rest of it is a pass-through. Yeah. The Granicus is the outfit that closed captions our meetings and posts them on the website for us. That's $16,000, and that's a known number under the contract. And the appraisals and other things as engineers, real estate appraisals, anything that may pop up.
How long is our Granicus contract run?
Let's say through July.
July. And what's our period of time in which we have to renew or tell them we're not going to renew?
I don't know.
No. Okay. July.
Yeah, we started in July 2007, I believe. It's either 60 or 90-day notice we have to provide.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it continues. Unless you get.
I'm not sure it automatically renews. I don't believe that to be the case. We'll check that, get the answer for it.
And that last one, I'm just sticking that for appraisals and other 9,000. You'll see in 2009 the actual was 98,000. There was some wind turbine supervision for the wind turbine project. That's why that was so high. Other general expenses, office expenses, administrative expenses, things like that. Again, down at the bottom half the page, just a short classification. Subscriptions and dues are things such as newspapers, safety, subscriptions and dues, office, maintenance items, travel, postage. The telephone is a big item here, $30,000. We had 7 new cell phones added this year for the maintenance department. We were having trouble getting a hold of them. That's working out pretty well. But there was also a reduction in the long-distance rates. We changed some companies there. So that's going to offset the increase in the cell phones. We're hoping. So we got the same actual 30,000 budget of 30,000. And the service contract.
Let me talk about the phones a little bit. It's kind of interesting where, for some reason, you come over the bridge, and I roam.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah.
Coming on the American side of the bridge, you roam. On the other side of the bridge, I don't roam. And I was like, that kind of, and it's a strange phenomenon where it's a dead zone.
Yeah, it was along the river to a camp and down by Morrison Park. It's a roaming zone.
Yeah.
Home by the movie theater.
We don't have a roaming charge of ours. Anything we do inter-office-wise, right?
No. Pat calls every month and it gets wiped off.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Sam, I can go from one room to another in my office.
Is that right?
Between carriers.
Me too. Yeah. Mine roam. Rogers.
Stay in this room. Don't call it my room.
Towards the northward border, I got AT&T. If I walk up front and talk to Derek, I'm on Rogers all of a sudden.
The wattage on the Canadian towers for the output is just phenomenal. And it does that quite frequently.
But I talk to people in Canada, and they complain that they're getting ours.
Really?
Yeah, so
Not very often I'll bet.
Oh, no, they seriously. I'm not sure if the wave goes over, whatever happens, or that's just a little business that they do. I don't know. Huh?
Well, actually, the AT&T wipes it off your bill.
Yeah, if you call it.
You call and say, look, I'm not just saying I'm not paying a roaming fee to Rogers because you
You got
guys
for a while, I had to change.
But if you call and contest, they'll...
That's a long story, but that's...
Well, use that whole thing.
I don't know why you have that wrong. What? You never answer it.
No, it's true.
That's Rogers. AT&T, you did.
You see,
The only he hasn't set up his answer, and you don't have nothing set up on it.
I know, keep it simple. Forgive me, you don't.
Thanks, Mark. All right.
I just call your wife and leave it like that.
The service contracts, $21,000, that's pretty much two items. The biggest item is our poll system. Service contract, I suppose, if you will, 24-hour phone support and whatnot, that's about $17,000, and the copier lease is about $4,000 or $5,000. And the bank service fees of $6,500, $3,000 of that is for the bond administration, and the rest of that is the credit card fees that the charges for the airport fuel.
Mark, the service contracts for the 33110 budget, what were we anticipating there that was going to be so much higher?
I allocated, well, half of that was maintenance contracts that I felt fit more better on the maintenance line item, so I transferred those over this year.
Okay.
To the maintenance pages.
Okay.
HVAC units, elevator, things like that.
Okay.
And I also took the actual out of there too, so you see the $18,000 is just the administrative portion. But I know New York State looks at that last year's budget and they wouldn't want to see that number reallocated, so I kept the 2010 budget where it was. Page 15 is our debt service. Of course, the big item there is the water station revenue bonds. We are in year 8 of 15, I believe, or 7 of 15. So that matures in about 8 years. And the retirement system, I believe, is a 2003 deferral of a payment. And that runs through another 6 years. And page 16 is our capital projects. First is deck replacement, before the relocation, the big ones there. Questions?
What surprised you most, Mark? Yeah, I mean, what kind of caught you that would...
Surprised me most?
Yeah.
Nothing on the income side. The total revenue we can predict fairly certain. The GSA rent is certainly a known. I think the interest income, I knew that was going down. As far down as it was going, I wasn't quite sure. That was kind of a bad surprise, I suppose. Yeah, and the retirement just hit us a few months ago. That's a big change. Yeah. I think that they've made noise about that for months, but we didn't get the official notice until probably September was the actual rates came. Steve didn't ask for a loader, so I suppose that was a surprise also.
That's good. You can ask for a conveyor belt.
Next page. True.
Second.
All right, and the other packet is the port fund. And on page 2 is the marine terminal revenue. Port activities, top half of that page, that's anything in by rail, in by vessel, out by rail, out by vessel. And they're broken down in those categories. What we have is road salt, 150,000 tons. There's 665,000 of that number. Other agricultural products is about 150,000. Or 160,000, I suppose. Come up with 830. So the fair majority of that is road salt. We haven't budgeted for a vessel coming in with anything we're not aware of, just because we don't think there's anything quite promising enough to budget as revenue. And the warehousing, it's the same. contractors, we have Mansure Potters, Hoosier, Agricultural, the salt carryover near the bottom, 43,000, that's 20,000 tons. If you go back to the last 3 to 5 years, it really does bounce around anywhere from 0 to 60,000 tons, so it could be...
Easter famine, right?
Yeah, depending on the weather, so that seems to be a median number that might be used.
The numbers you got down here for Potters, is that a hard number?
The lead under contract for the first 5 months of the year. And then after that, I'm assuming they re-up for the same space they have now.
Have they done that?
Well,
Not up yet.
we haven't talked about it yet. They still have another months on their current lease.
I have a meeting before Christmas. Get some indication.
Sheena's building a new warehouse for them.
Yeah.
Right on the rail over there. Is that going to affect us?
That's what we're asking. That's what we're going to ask.
Hmm?
That's what we're going to talk to them about.
So what if they don't do business with us, then this number's gone?
Yes.
Page 3 is the industrial park revenue. We have some land rent. This is broken down by building. The land rent is down about $30,000 from budget to budget. Last year we had the Aquabank option in there for about $30,000. Can't remember the name of the company, but there was that project. Building 3 has the same tenants. Building 4 the same tenants. Building 6, GSA, that's budgeted for 5.5 months, which is where I think we signed that contract a couple months ago, runs through. And Breckenridge is out of that building, which leaves a pretty big hole there. Allen Vanguard was expanded, Era is new. Building 9 has the same tenants, Building 11 is a long-term
They were
tenant.
shoes before. They've been on client for a long time. What building were they in?
They're also on more. They don't have big space.
Yeah, that's it.
They're small, yeah.
I see, I'm sorry.
Building 12, the same 2 tenants. And Building 14, we have a known tenant now, Talmar is in there. And we have anticipated filling 8,000 square feet for 12 months. And that's where that $66,000 number is coming from, which is about half of the space available.
What is the value of all those things?
I have a cost value and a net book value. I don't have an appraisal value for those buildings.
How would you go about what they're worth? I mean, if you're going to build them, whatever. I guess that's my question. What's the if to build those buildings, what would it cost to build them?
We just
We just put about Building 14, that was just 1.6 million, 0.7?
Yeah,
that sounds
the
right?
total build out, I mean,
Yeah.
to finish it, was probably about 2 million, 2.1.
Closer to 2, yeah.
For that building.
So it was 21,000 square foot.
Add 10 or 12 to that number, and you probably come up with, I don't know what the square footage of all the others would are. What would we think we got property value there? 20 million?
I
5?
Probably a little bit lower than that.
Somewhere in that area. I mean,
I'd say maybe 2
Probably more based on the age of the buildings.
Yeah, we don't own, we don't have it. Probably.
well, it's a major, my point is, it's a major investment.
Oh, sure.
Where the property's made.
Yeah.
For
It's still there, yeah.
business for this area. Yeah.
There's a lot of them are on tax rolls, the ones that have purchased the buildings.
Say it again?
A number of them are on tax rolls that already own buildings that they've acquired over the years, like Anson and Breckenridge.
We used to sell the building.
Yeah. Or they ran through their full 20-year purchase agreement.
If we learned our lesson.
Thank you.
Page 4 is the airport revenue. Passenger terminal is Cape Air. The transient hangar, our estimate there is a 6-month occupancy at $1,000 a month. The T hangar right now has 8 tenants. There's 8 hangars full out of the 10, So we budgeted those 8 to be back. Page 5 and 6 is the salaries and wages we've already looked at. Page 7 is the employee benefits we looked at. Page 8 is the marine terminal maintenance. That's up $9,000. And you'll see in grounds maintenance, in 2009 it was $20,000 actual. Again, that was some improvements for the wind turbine project. Everything else is fairly similar. On page 9 is the industrial park maintenance, and that's actually down $7,000. Page 10, the airport maintenance. Again, it's basically building grounds and janitorial.
What paving do we have? Is there something that says paving that we?
Paving at the park.
Yeah.
Steve, you want to address this?
That area, right by the bank, basically Commerce Park Drive,
Okay.
from Approach Road, the center Approach Road, all the way up around the curve. We need some patching there, and also it needs to be
Oh, okay.
resurfaced.
Not adding any road like that. We're
No, it's just taking care of what we got.
On page 11 is utilities. And again, I've tried to use some of the historical figures there for right at 2011. For the marine terminal electricity, again, you'll see 42,000 actual 2009. And those temporary lights for the wind turbines over the summer were really quite expensive. So we'll be back down to the 26,000 figure.
And that was to allow them to work 16-hour days.
That and safety, yeah, and security, yeah. Insurance we looked at on page 12, advertising and promotion we looked at, professional fees, another general. This is page 16 is the debt service for the port fund, and 14th building there is the largest annual debt payment, and that has a 20-year life. We're in year 2, so there's 18 years left on that. The rest of those are all between 4 and 10 years. The St. Lawrence County IDA 11th building addition, that is 10 years. Everything else is either 4 to 6 years for maturity. So nothing's going away to tomorrow, but a few of them mid-range will be off.
I got Ogdensburg Jack and Jill still on.
We pay $275 a month on that.
I thought that was supposed to go away.
Because we've been paying that. We put on
That's about 4 years amortization period left out there for that. And what the agreement was at the time, as long as the building has a tenant, we make the monthly payment, but if the building's empty, it's our option not to make the payment. Since I've been here, the building's been full, so at least that's some occupancy, so we've always made that payment. We owe them, well, let's see, 3,300 times 4, we owe them about $12,000. Give or take $12,000 or so.
And what are we getting a year for the building?
That's only 11, John? 12.
now we've got mental hygiene legal in there, right?
We are getting $76,000.
No, we'll pay this,
We can. They save the interest. Maybe talk to Basil and
once Sue's, what the bottom line is and give them money.
What's our lease right now for that building? How many years do we have it?
for the tenants that are in there?
Isn't it mental hygiene?
Yeah.
How many years do we have?
Mental hygiene and
Well, mental hygiene is our big tenant. How many year lease do we have with them?
5.
So, pay them. 3 or 4 years left on this, they're our big tenant.
Sure, get rid of the monthly payment and the monthly check and
Interest.
the approvals and all that. Yeah.
See if we take 10,000 and get it over with.
Sure.
Okay.
They want to.
I just want to see the toilets back.
And
Put a bed on them, baby.
Pretty good.
I was cool in your house, you had to have to go home.
I wouldn't be able to get up off it. Governor, this is your meeting here. Just send that down to Page 17 is the capital projects that Wade had up there earlier. The airport, Marine Terminal Industrial Park, and our share is pretty small on the airport, obviously. The big item under the Marine Terminal was the large clear that we talked about the last couple of months. And a much-needed roof for Building 6.
And at this point, the large conveyor is a placeholder. Haven't decided to go with that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, well said.
I did that for me.
And that's 2011.
That's the low end of it.
Yes. Hopefully the worst case scenario.
Did anybody put any thought into how we're going to reroute the traffic? The city talked to us at all about Sheriff Patterson Street, how we're going to get in and out of Fort. At one time they talked about, our partner and trying to get this money, and there was much push on this money for when you get our road down there. We've done our side of it. I mean, has there been anything at all? I mean, thought how we're going to get in and out of Fort when they start tearing Patterson Street up. Well, the bids are coming out, right?
The bids are coming out for design, I believe. Just for the engineering work.
I thought they were going to start doing that job this year.
2012, or is that?
2012. So design's coming up first, but to specifically answer your question, no, there's not been any discussion. Quite frankly, that's one of our concerns, is the fact that we can effectively have the port shut down 2 years with no access. That's why we continue to pursue the alternative access through the port access.
Well, in 2 years here, the way it's looking is our port hopefully will start picking up again with some of this, creeds for jobs with windmills. I mean, I don't want to get caught here, but we got to have a way to get stuff in and out of that port. I mean, I don't know what the city's idea is here, but you're telling me it's 2012. I heard different than that.
2012, fine. We're pushing though for the grant still. And we've had some conversations with DOT recently, and we keep mentioning it to Senator Albertine. Dennis Mullen up there.
We bought the property on both sides of the highway there. Is the city turned that over to us yet?
No, not yet, because that was going to be part of the actual project once we get the dollars.
Okay.
I'd just like to make a comment that I think very much for the next budget presentation. I think that this week most education along with entertaining, but the understanding of the different pieces and where they go, it was quite beneficial.
Let's hope they're right. Hold it. They're not. Yeah, perfect world.
Okay. Any other questions?
So actually, that brings us to the first order on the main agenda. We're through the notes section.
Okay.
We would
letters and communications to the board, actually.
Is there any?
There are 2 letters and communications to the board. Specifically, this letter came November 19th, 2009 from Rena Goldberg, members of the OBPA board. After reading the Watertown Times and Ogdensburg Journal in regard to Cape Air, I've become concerned that you might consider another air service. We've had such wonderful experiences with Cape Air that I can't imagine anything any better for Ogdensburg. Our daughter, who lives in Boston, has had to make several last-minute emergency flights home because of illness of either my husband or me. She much prefers driving to Albany than to have the hassle of going through Logan. She makes much better connections than when she flew through Ottawa. Cape Air has always been able to accommodate her to make sure she has a seat. Because of the wonderful connections, she has made several more trips home than she has ever been able to do previously. Please consider this one very satisfied customer of Cape Air when making your decision. Serena S. Goldberg, Ogdensburg.
And that's not our decision, but the government, so that's nice to come along. So we give a copy of that to Cape Air so that they can use that in
We will make sure
the
that
future submission.
The second item of correspondence comes from Thomas DiNapoli, State Controller. Dear Mr. Carter and Mr. Davis, thank you for your letter regarding our recent report on the diversion of money from the state's dedicated Highway and Bridge Trust Fund to other purposes. Your comments on the importance of the Ogdensburg-Prescott International Bridge and the pressing need for repairs and improvements to it perfectly illustrate the necessity of restoring the fund to its proper function. I appreciate your support and look forward to working with you to make sure that our transportation system gets the resources it needs. The safety and prosperity of New Yorkers depend upon us getting it right. Best wishes, Tom DiNapoli, State Controller. No check, unfortunately. That concludes correspondence.
And sent that letter after you sent your letter saying you owe more pension.
The same day.
With Mary's thoughts on the other, we'll take care of that. With thoughts, Mary. Approval of minutes, if any. That's what it says.
Yeah,
We have done. Comments and presentations from citizens regarding the agendas, items? None? Staff reports?
In the interest of time, I'll keep it very brief. There is a need for a brief executive session at the end of this board meeting for contract negotiation discussion. But specifically on the monthly staff report, been working on the $90 million bridge rehabilitation project. Government outreach efforts continue. Had discussions with New York State DOT. Project letting has been revised to February 4th at this point, and the details are centering on a repair scheme at this point that needs to be completed for the project. It's been extensive work performed under the Canadian portion of the Bridge Authority, the Ogdensburg Bridge Authority. You'll see the agenda item tonight in front of the Ogdensburg Bridge Authority meeting. We talked with New York Power Authority representatives regarding the offshore wind project that's coming up in Great Lakes, trying to make sure that we have our foot in the door on that project, and they're doing well in that regard. I attended with staff the St. Louis County Industrial Development Agency U.S. Commercial Service function up at U.S. Embassy in Ottawa. The purpose of that event was trying to get firms to expand into the U.S. We're working with the consultant on the draft North Country Transportation.
Can I stop you a second?
Yes, sir.
What happens in that event? What do we do?
Well, what we do is we go up there as a team of economic developers promoting St. Lawrence County. And it's actually a St. Lawrence County IDA's event, and everybody lends a hand, puts our best foot forward for St. Lawrence County, and we share the contracts as a result.
I mean, is there any exchange with anybody, or do you just have booth, or what?
No, that's actually a networking event at the embassy itself.
A small room in the embassy, a couple.
So there's active participation going on.
Yeah,
and they don't-
reception.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you talk, and we share our prospects that might be on the invitation list as well as their prospects. That's how this is developed, and develop new prospects as well. So some of the people we've met are people we've talked to in the past and just continued to develop the prospects.
So we have
Like for an
a
opportunity to.
good PR event for us.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's a very good cooperative effort. Okay.
We recently attended the St. Louis Seaway Development Corporation recognition event in Montreal.
How did that go? What happened there?
Well, Seaway is forecast to be effectively at the same level next year as it is this year, which is basically a bad number. They're not anticipating any
Why is their numbers
in
down?
traffic.
They say why the numbers are down or what?
Economics.
Mostly because of the decrease in the coal trade with China. Those are two big commodities on the Great Lakes anyway, so those are the big numbers that are down. But wind turbines are down as well. Yeah.
That was on the news a couple nights ago. Pretty much what he said.
Yeah.
Yep.
You say coal, grain?
Coal and steel products are the...
Well, grain.
Grain's not bad. I think it's steady or a little bit off, I think.
I thought that was mostly going down this, I know the other things are going down, but I
Yeah,
thought
coal, they're the big number.
We had a meeting in the North Country Airport Alliance. That's 5 airports discussing essential air service. Some airports come up in the spring. Ours comes up actually in September. Other interesting things I've been working on throughout the month. Met with SUNY Canton's Provost, Dr. William Trumbull, regarding opportunities to partner between the authority and SUNY Canton on future energy projects. The Joint Economic Development Committee meeting. The authority budget and capital plan. Brought that in conjunction with staff. And again, a special thanks to Mark. Job well done on that. The Labor Management Committee met as well. Upcoming projects, bridge rehab is the main focus. We've also got the security provisions workshop coming up as well. Concluding the Port Master Plan. An important thing I forgot to mention there is the consultant will be presenting at the, Wilbur Smith will be presenting at February 2nd board meeting. Be attending the American Great Lakes Port Association meeting in Toronto, and there's a U.S. Coast Guard grant program informational session coming up in Buffalo, New York. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have on that or any other issues.
Tell me something. Is there still discussion about having a point of entry for all foreign ships coming into the Seaway to come in and
clean the ballast.
clean the balances and everything? Is that still being thrown around? And where's that at?
2006, they mandate that they flush their tanks with salt water before they enter the system. So they claim since 2006 there's been no invasive species in the system since then. But they are, the Coast Guard, in addition to the New York regulations, the Coast Guard's adopting new regulations. They'll actually have equipment on the vessel themselves. They'll install, I don't know if it's chlorination or what it is, but that's the next phase. And in Montreal they are checked, right?
Swish, yeah, they do have the inspection station.
So they have done stuff on that then. All right, good. I'm glad to hear that information. I didn't realize they were...
Let's go a little further. That's the Canadian inspection that we have. It happens in Montreal.
They'll actually rinse the tanks out before they actually enter the system out in the ocean. And then in Montreal, though, there is a Coast Guard inspection. Yeah.
That's the U.S. representative. So it's both governments.
How many little species getting in here then?
Before 2006.
Oh, is that how it
They
was?
still stuck to a bridge, see. They have babies and...
Keep it.
I see.
So they're keeping the concrete falling in.
Turn the camera on. A fast one? Yeah. The financial statements are in your green packets. They didn't go out in the mail. As I mentioned earlier, we're about $127,000 to the positive compared with budget. So we're having a sound year so far to date. The operating reports were included. You see the bridge traffic is up 13%. Hopefully we'll see that trend continue. In the first month it's been up that much.
I was talking to a guy at the gas station yesterday from Canada, and he said it cost him $68 to fill his car up here. Over in Canada, it would be over $100 and something. He comes over twice a week and fills up his RV.
I didn't realize that.
His gas over there is like $4.50 a gallon, $4.20 a
It's actually
gallon.
down. It was 94.8 a liter a week ago. It's down to 91.6 a liter, in Ottawa at least, this week. So it came down that much. But yeah, it's sky high over there.
They're self-sufficient.
I can never do that.
Okay.
Our auditor submitted the single audit to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. It's something we do every year. Nothing special there. So that hopefully concludes the March 31st, 2009 audit requirements. The budget we talked about a little bit earlier. There's really no update on that. And the employee health insurance premiums are now in. The pure premiums have an 11.8% increase this year. You see the individual 2-person and family coverage there is listed for you. Again, part of our cost is self-funding, so we expect that to go up about 7% overall. Staying on the same line, I think last month, Don told me Gary Zare was going to contact me.
Yeah.
And he sat down with me last week, and he thinks he might have some savings opportunities there. Left me a voicemail today just before the meeting, so I'll see what he has to say.
Did you find it fit there with the union agreement?
Yeah, I explained the union agreements and how we're not real kind of inflexible, if you will. He said there's ways around that, just like benefit services group offers. So
Yeah,
it's something he's done before, so that didn't surprise him too much.
Yeah. Good.
The state insurance fund was in here. It seems like a while ago now, but I guess it wasn't too long ago. And for the year ending March 31st, 2009, the actual wages resulted in a $2,000 premium due for the audit, which is not unusual. Beginning of the year, we make an estimate, and then at the end of the year, we have the actual.
Any questions?
Do we know how many Canadian cars go on with CEOs and stuff? Do we have that?
We have Canadian funds and American funds, and I suppose we could do a percentage, but we don't track.
Does anybody track? The government, obviously, that comes across, but
Yeah,
we don't know.
We don't.
Well, I can tell you, I go to Canada a lot, and I see the cars in Canada parked here on this side versus the other side. I would bet it's 5-1 anyway. I would think. Maybe more than that. Where cars are American versus Canadian. I don't know. I'm just saying that what I see, I don't wait on that side, but I do on this side when I come across.
All right. Mr. Reich?
We had a very good meeting with consultants for the Power Authority for the offshore wind project. Steve Waite and I, and the competing ports for handling that cargo, which is 3 to 5 years out. We're strong 10% more as it exists right now. Done some outreach to existing bulk warehouse customers, a couple of storage and handling agreements on there. One of them, depending on a rail rate that's still being negotiated, could be a significant volume of farm products. The other one's talked about a vessel in the spring, but it all depends on the market. The third big user will be coming online in full. We'll be meeting with them in January sometime. That's dried distillers grains. Attended the Highway H2O conference, some of the events that were talked about before. Quite a bit of our time has been spent on the North Country Freight Needs study. We've had some problems with the consultants, but that's getting straightened out and should be available in February. Had a real good meeting with Dennis Mullen, who's the chairman of Empire State Development Corporation. We've had about 15 businesses in attendance. Talked about the grants that are pending, and they had input in terms of what Empire State Development would be offering for new programs now that the Empire Zone program's gone. And working with several existing businesses, there's been a little bit of an increase there in terms of new space and outreach to new prospects as well.
Then, are there agencies or people who come to you that don't want other people to know that they're interested in our business, whatever?
Agencies?
Well, I mean, companies, agencies, firms, whatever. The reason
Clients.
Clients. Yeah, I mean, we're showing this report.
Oh, yeah. 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 I kind of do it vaguely because I'm not.
Right, okay, so this is not everything.
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
John, what kind of problems with the consultants in the major?
Consultant, I can just jump in there. The consultant they've had a personnel change within their organization. So what they had now, instead of the field guy that was handling it before, there was another field person, and now there's actually a management level person handling it. So, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But.
No, it's fine. It wasn't of the quality that we had hoped for, so been pressing. They've made some changes.
Okay.
Holding them to a timeline, but be much improved by February.
John, just to give me your opinion, and the city doing away with their economic development or whatever they call it, plan or whatever, what do you feel is, how much of a loss is that going to be to the city not being functioning in that?
I think they will miss the position, and it might be something that once reality sets in, so it might feel differently about it 2-3 years as far as funding a position, being actively involved in economic development. It's important for any community.
The long-term range.
Yeah.
And the funny thing to see an important position like that, which you served in for that long of a time, and it was always funded by grant money, which I didn't realize that.
The majority of it came from the state, yes, through the Empire Zone.
So when the money dried up, everything goes away. That's hard to,
Yeah, you can understand why they need to cut back.
Well, the grant money isn't there anymore. I'm just saying it's, I know that you work very closely with those people, so it's going to have some effect on us in the city.
Yep. And they're kind of unique because they have a public authority within their own community that does not develop. Easier decision for them.
Any other questions? Okay, Steve, this is it.
Okay,
We'll get this on.
conveyor.
Just in the budget.
Income was $160,000, thank you.
We had received 3 ceiling hung units, and they're all in the installations scheduled, but they're all in place. Our people did that.
They are installed.
They're all installed. We reviewed the snow removal and plowing schedule in industrial parks, and today was our field test, so we'll see how we do.
You're still plowing right now?
Get it out there and test it.
Well, just so you know, we kind of get together and find out what their schedule people coming in and try to work around them and try to keep them happy. We do the best we can. And then once the cars get there, sometimes it's really difficult, but
This parking lot seems like it suffered. And I'm not being sarcastic. This parking lot seemed like it suffered. There were an awful lot of mounds of snow where cars parked, so I think probably did our tenants before we got here.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they do. And then what happens, they'll come in tomorrow morning, whether it's snowing or not, and clean everything up. So we get back to normal there, just to give you an idea of what we do with snowing. A lot of the things in the bridge were already covered by GPI, but when our bridge maintenance season, we kind of went about 2.5 weeks longer. There was a couple things that came out of the interim inspection that the bridge crew could take care of. So rather than it was one or the other, they were able to take care of them with the nice weather. So we knocked those up for that. We know that inspection's been completed, and the toll booth project's going to be tentatively let in January. Also, CNS reviewed most everything that I have on there. The one thing is on the bifold door, that door has been ordered, and it's probably 3 to 4 weeks away, and that project will start up getting that installed and getting it done once the door is received.
That bifold door actually accomplishes what? A sectioning off of the building.
Yeah, and it allows them to store the Cape Air size plane right there. One, like Wade said, that kind of relates to if somebody else wants the essential air thing, that'll be something we'll have to look at. Maybe they'll supply a plane and all those things that go with it that are much too big for us, but we're just trying to accommodate, and I think it'll work out quite well. The bid documents have been finalized for the port security project, and we held a pre-bid meeting. We had 4 or 5 electrical contractors there, so that was a good turnout, and we expect to get bids sometime next week, the 17th next week. I think that covers pretty much what I've got. One other item, we did solicit the quotes for the demolition of the property, and that'll be addressed in a resolution later on. Thank you.
Would that be done in the spring?
No, that could be, we did it in winter. Yeah, the other one we did winter.
I guess we did.
We try to keep it so we look halfway neat, even if it is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Hey, when you say bifold doors, can you meet this? These doors are going to fold, they're not going to move upward.
They'll do that kind of accordion upward. It'll all be upward. Right? There'll be 3 cables or 4 cables that'll pull it up, and it'll come out and go straight up. So it'll be out there almost like an awning, and it's all the way to the top.
And then suck back in, or stays out?
It stays out, and then when the plane comes out, you just lower it, and it comes down in the track. So,
now, when we're going to a bigger plane, then that would be, the hangar wouldn't be big enough.
right. Yeah,
That would not be big enough. We do have another storage option. The other storage option would be our new transient hangar on the south side of the airfield. But with what we've done with the program at the airport, we put commercial operations on the north side of the airport and put general aviation on the south side. So that would be kind of blurring the line again. But that would be an easier option.
But the hangar that we just got done completed, that can't handle a much bigger plane anyway.
That can handle as big a plane as used to have. So the name escapes me. The smaller hangar, the commercial aviation hangar that's attached to the passenger terminal, could not handle that larger plane. Our transient hangar on the south side of the airport.
Yeah. So, why has it been so long, Steve, with this door? I mean, I got to ask these questions. I mean, I'm out there, and it's been a long time on this door thing.
Yeah, well, the funding, are you talking from when we got the funding?
Well, funding, whatever. I mean, why is it so long? I mean, why?
It was bid last year.
Yeah.
And then the funding, we didn't get the funding until, August, right?
Yeah, the funding was held up through DASNY until the summer. It only broke loose this summer through the senator's help, actually.
But they had to build this door, that's what you're telling me, and they couldn't do that until you told them to go ahead.
Yeah.
Until we put bids up.
They held the price for the bid from last year, and we used that. The company was Marine. And then when they came in, they said, well, we can hold the price. And then when we awarded that to them, and then they had to take field measurements and go over the framing and everything like that. And that had to go back and forth between CNS. I think there was maybe 2 or 3 correspondents, which took up probably 2 or 3 weeks just going back and forth. And then when they finally got the approved shop going, then they sent the order into the company. And that's where we're at right now with basically the doors being built and will be shipped. So it was probably 3-4 weeks beyond what we expected. We probably expected to be done by now. But they've done a lot of interior work already for it.
So I was out there.
Yeah, so it's just basically...
I go out and spot check things.
Good.
Yeah, something to do.
Okay, Steve. He's doing a wildlife assessment.
Yeah.
In his great horn.
morning walk, too.
For the safety of the public.
Yeah. Any questions of stage report? Which we can move around to. Committee reports?
Facilities Committee did not meet this month. The reason being there are two small items that are already on the agenda to discuss tonight for agenda items.
Finance Committee?
I'm actually off that.
I've just gone over the documents that were sent, and Mike answered all the questions that I had. So.
I heard you were down here the other day. That's good. I like that.
Do you usually work with Pat or Mark?
Usually with Mark, I haven't hooked up with Pat yet.
You gotta get her hooked up with Pat because he's going to be very informative.
Very, yes. You should ask Pat.
Seriously.
You learn a lot. There's different colors on some things, but don't worry about it. It means something.
Yeah.
She's very organized.
She is. I mean, spot on. Yeah. She can do a high level review.
If you see anything highlighted, ask about it. Please do. I found that on the hard way, and do not drink her water. All one day I got in trouble. I thought I'm back in school.
Well, she'll appreciate the fact you remember that.
Don't worry, Okay. Unfinished business.
We do have one item under unfinished business. When last we met, talking about approvals of repairs to the engine house. We have on page 11 of the document that unfinished business. Since that time, additional backup information was requested. Additional backup information was it put out to quote, dollar amounts, that type of thing. And here to answer some of those questions, Jerry Hepta from Vermont Rail, New York and Ogdensburg.
Thank you. Is that what you were waiting for, Jerry? No, I was just joined us. My God, I didn't even know you were on the agenda. I thought you'd come to see me.
I did, Craig. You're my favorite.
Now you've offended all the rest of us.
Oh, and you're my favorite too, Mary.
My computer's on.
I figured you'd like to see the results of the work we did.
The lipstick on the pig?
Anyway, still look at it. I was shocked at how good it turned out. I really was. We were just trying to.
Where's this building here? Is it still all over in Vermont? I noticed the tank is gone too. Did you get any money for that?
Some of the things I've reviewed the tape from last meeting, and I've got a number of things that I really need to correct for the record. But one of the questions that you had was competing bids. Now, since July of 06, which is when we really started this whole rigmarole, we've had 7 people bid on the project. Burns Brothers in Lisbon, no interest. He came and looked, never came back. John Smith was manager. He looked, not interested, didn't even tell us he was interested, never came back. GW LLC of Waitsfield, Vermont, his bid was $47,500. Goldman Son and Norwood bid at, this is more expensive work, it's $130,000 for the entire building we had. And Kadisky Building at $150,000. And Steve Cotter of Norfolk bid $53,349 for just the roof. So we had 3 bids for just the roof, which was GW at $47,000, Cotter at $53,000, and saying, well, they're at 40. So we did the job at 40, and as you see, I mean, it's done and it's done well, and it's dry now, and it's we're way ahead of the game as far as saving the structure.
You said for just the roof, though, but it certainly looks like you got some
See, there's more work that was done, and that's one of the things I need to correct, because on the tape I saw comments about how we haven't done anything with building, but going back through the history, the Port Authority decided in August of '06 to do some temporary repairs to stabilize the building and make it safe. And that's the, whatever it was, $17,000 you spent over there. And what happened is that the Port Authority sent men and equipment over there, and what they did was they replaced some of the rafters and trusses in the roof that were actually deteriorating to the point where they were falling. It was really structural repairs, and that was done. But unfortunately, there was nothing done to the surface of the roof, so water was still pouring into the building. So what we did as subsequent to that was a few months later we put a temporary plastic membrane over the top of the whole building, which lasted 2 years, and it was inexpensive, but it kept the rain out. And then the following year we I can give you the exact date, but we replaced the utility drop that comes into the building, the three-phase power, because it was deteriorating. And then last year, we spent a substantial amount of money overhauling the roll doors, insulating the south wall, and putting new siding on it. So that's why it looks so good on the south face. Now, you go around the back side, it's a little ratty, but year by year, as we get the walls done, it'll look good all the way around. So
what is the material used for siding then?
Vinyl.
Vinyl?
Yeah.
And that was not part of the cost for the roof that you
No,
had?
that was something done last year. We never even asked for money for that. I mean, that was not that expensive. It was under $10,000 for that job. But, the roll doors were in need of headers above the doors, and thresholds were replaced. And we do quite a bit. As much as you don't know it, we do a lot of work on the facilities. Of course, Fred, where were those $300,000, which you said about 20 times at the last meeting? Now, we know where the $300,000 is. The money is still in the project, except for it was about $7,500 that was spent for the engineers to do a proposal to build a new building. That's all the rest of the money is still in the project, and as of 4/15/09, we've signed the final approvals for the project to go forward, which was then when the money was shifted over to track. And I'll tell you, I mean, we're comfortable in a few respects here, because when we first asked for the $300,000, we really thought we could build a new building for that. And I find out later that you can't, because the bids from the estimates from the CNS who did the study for us came in, about $2 or $3 million. It was huge. And
It was a large number. It was like 2.5.
And as soon as we saw that, we knew that the project was out the window. And so rather than let that money sit there and not get used on the railroad where it was intended, we needed to get it shifted into an area where we could spend it for the good purposes of keeping the railroad running. So that's why we asked to move that money back over to the track, because we knew that we were going to get built a new engine house. And of course, there was a lot of back and forth about that engine house, about where it was going to be located. And I had written an extensive, detailed report to you folks about where the reasoning why we wanted the engine house where we wanted it, which included the fuel study and the operating factors and all that. And that was our position. It still is our position. But that's, if you want to build a new engine house. And I'm really thinking that since we've sunk this money into this building, and we're well along on keeping it in reasonable condition. It's really not, we feel it's really not a need now. It's really more need for track. Okay, I covered all the bids. And, we could go through all the details of all the ins and outs of this whole thing, but it really started in July of 06 when I sent a letter to the Port Authority putting them on notice that the engine house was in dire need of repairs. And it was followed up by 3 or 4 other communications to the same effect. And then in September of this year, I told Wade that we're done waiting for the rules of progress to occur. We got to do the work. So we went forward, and then I followed it up with something in writing to formalize it. But it was one of those things that, as much as
why wouldn't you put us on notice or give us a carbon copy of letters that ask for bids so that we would be aware that we're searching out bids?
That's because this was all, I had to reconstruct all this from many sources, So it was less formal bidding was, but always the
But you understand, because we're an authority, we have to have formalities that other entities don't.
Keep in mind that we took it upon ourselves to do this work because we felt obligated and needed to do it, and there was no way around that. And the letter that I wrote to you folks asking for money was strictly an informal, friendly request. Since it's your building, maybe you want to chip in. I mean, there was no demand there. It's just like,
I didn't realize that the fix we did a few years ago for $17,000 didn't keep the water out of that building. I had no idea.
No, it was mainly structural because the roof itself was starting to collapse. And so what they did was they came in and put in 2x12 rafters and beams. And
some of that close to stable is some of 2 to 3 years.
Mary had asbestos in it. So what we did was we used a lot of that, there was a 2-sided material that we patched those there, and it was, and at the time, and I told you last week, we thought that, get them through the season, and that was done with.
Well, because we were moving on to the next chapter, so we thought it was a new building.
And I would have loved to this new building could be a successful venture, but it wasn't. And the building that we proposed was actually pretty basic. It was a building with a cement floor and an inspection pit and heat. And it wasn't really that elaborate. And although if it had really come close, instead of millions of dollars, if it had come close to what we thought it was going to be, we could have probably shaved a little thing here and there, and maybe brought the cost down. But it was just so far out. There was no way that you could justify it or we could justify it. Right. So with that, we did a great job. It was great. Well, when I saw those pictures, it really was nice.
The person who did this, was there any consultation with the person who did this as to how stable the walls were that he built this roof on top of, or?
Well, I mean,
do you have anybody for engineering take a look to make sure that putting the roof on top of this was actually?
I mean, this is a guy with a lot of experience that does a lot of work. He's done roofs for us before.
So he took a look at the wall and decided that they were
he did a drawing, and they went up and they tested the beams to make sure there wasn't any rock beams. That the structure that the building's made out of is similar to a post-beam construction, but it's big 12x12. They were not really tested all the beams.
So he was happy that they weren't moving.
That's the reason why we felt that it was not a lost cause. The beams themselves were stable and not moving, and so this new roof is actually built right on top of the beams. And the old roof is just laying up there, essentially drying out now. In fact, now we don't really know what to do with that old roof because once it dries out, it'll reduce the weight on it, but it's still, we're not sure what it has as far as asbestos and everything. So we're not really thinking about tearing it out of there. The old roof underneath the new roof. Let's see.
Well, if you do it right.
Yes, ma'am. If you're smart, don't do it at all.
Yeah.
It's going to cost more than the roof. Yeah, no, you're going to get a pavement. Now, the other thing is, one thing that concerned me was that there were some questions about what are the railroad's benefits to the Port Authority. Now, we've gone over this many many times, but I'll reiterate this again, is that every dollar of freight revenue that the railroad earns goes, 3% goes to the Port Authority directly as royalties every year. Then, on top of that, you get all the port fees. Every pound of freight we move through the port, you get scaling fees for the freight that moves through, you get handling fees and warehousing if that's the appropriate thing that's going on. So there's a revenue generator there. Bridge tolls. Many of the commodities that we move may never do anything more than get scaled out the gate, but a great majority of it goes over the bridge. So your bridge tolls are affected by that. And of course, there's the famous one I like to hear a lot is how you're a public benefit corporation, and it's for the public benefit to have a viable rail service into the community. It's just nothing else I can say except that. And of course, there's also the rail benefit of having rail service to your port makes it more attractive to potential users, because if you look around the Great Lakes,
That makes them multimodal.
certainly, because if you look around the Great Lakes, ports that are active and viable usually are there because there's a active industry nearby, and there is none of those here. So the only thing you have to substitute for that is connectivity, and that's what you have. So I think that's a good deal, don't you? As far as the reason to have a railroad. Okay, the other thing that I think was a misconception is that if we had built a new building, that we were going to use it for car repairs. Now, we don't repair automobiles, so if we're going to repair cars, we may repair freight cars, but not as a cottage industry. When we were talking about freight car repairs, we were talking about a crippled freight car that needed to be repaired in February. You had a place to put it where it could warm up, thaw, and be worked on. So that was all it was to okay. Any other questions?
How much do you want from us again?
My thought was we split it 50-50. But, I rely myself on your mercy, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I got a couple questions. I want to make sure that we're very clear on. I mean, under the lease agreement that you have with us, you don't believe that you have any obligation to maintain it.
Well, certainly, and that's what we're doing.
But you violate. I mean, how many years you been here?
5. That building's been there 100 years.
Yeah, right.
And believe me, the day we walked in, Fred, that was no cool.
But one of the things is you wanted X amount of money. There's 225,000 around here somewhere that hasn't been used yet. Is that what you're telling me?
No. There's nothing around here for the engine house anymore because we spent about $7,500 for the engineering study, and the remainder of it's already been signed off and shifted back into track.
And you've used it?
No, it's not used. It's going to be used this spring. We just
where's the track work going to be?
It's going to be, I believe it's from milepost 11 to milepost.
On the main line?
Yes, sir.
So there's no work from Norwood to Norfolk.
We'd like some work to be done there. In fact, the company bought, I'm not sure, it's 8 or 10 truckloads of ties that are stockpiled over in Norfolk now, and we need to get that work done because that, by far, is the most horrible piece of track we have on our whole 300-mile system. And another thing to remind you is we do have customers there. We have APC paper, and we have Potter's Industries there, and we have the moving grain there, but that's kind of dormant.
So you're now doing the work for the paper mill? Is that what you're telling me?
We're moving cars, yeah. I mean, it's we're trying to slowly recover the business that we lost last year, and it's starting back up again.
They're not trucking it down to CSX?
Not at this time, no.
But if you worked out your differences with them to move that?
With paper mill or CSX?
CSX.
We're always having differences with them. We have differences going on right now over this Casco. I've been pulling my hair out for the last week trying to get the rate structure where it belongs so that we can land that Casco business here.
Excuse me, Jerry, I just remind you you've got a reporter sitting right next to you.
You're so good now.
You got it.
Thank you. proceed without CSX's cooperation, so we have to work very carefully.
Well, one of the funny things, Jerry, is, as far as I'm concerned, we had $300,000 in there from DOT rail division to do something with the new engine house or whatever. And surely that $300,000 could have been used for this little
I was told
lipstick.
at the time when we were talking about the new building, I was told specifically that it couldn't be used for a rehab, but that may have changed. Sometimes what you hear from bureaucrats could be a little bit difficult to understand. Now, I was told that we couldn't use it for rehab, and so therefore we asked for it to be shifted back to the track. The thing is, the bottom line here, Fred, is there's $1.5 million that was part of that grant to the railroad. We had elected to ask to ship $300,000 for a new building. When we discovered that it was impossible, we asked to ship it back. So if the money's going to be put into the railway property as a whole somewhere, and it'll do that amount of good.
Jerry, it bothers me that, I think you do understand now, you're educated as to what our constraints are. Is it $15,000? We can spend less than $15,000. We can't spend more than $15,000 without going out, us getting bids for things.
Yeah, and you know what?
And so we need you to understand, number one, that's our procurement policy. It also would have been great practice had you involved us in the process and said, this is what we're going to go do. What do we need from you? You guys went ahead. I understand that. I appreciate that. For expediency purposes, you got the job done. My position was, this structure does belong to us, it's leased to you. I don't see this as normal wear and tear necessarily as a maintenance issue. And then I thought to give you money would be appropriate, to not give you money, but to contribute would be appropriate. One of the concerns of the board members, some of the board members, including myself, though, is, geez, if we do it, don't we set a precedent? And what you need to understand tonight is if you walk away with one lick, that this sort of procedure that you use can't possibly be successful next time. Now that you understand that we have procurement policies, you have a question, I'm sure you can call Mark and say, here's what the numbers probably are, what do I need to do to protect you and to protect us, and to go ahead and do it. And really, for everyone, this is a learning process. And so, to be quite honest, I'm prepared tonight to make a motion to, and again, this is only me, make a motion to contribute $14,999, which would be below our procurement policy.
Well, I really appreciate that, and with all due respect, we've been dancing around this building business for years, and I made a decision. I said, if we went through the board process, this tree wouldn't open up. We just had to take the bull by the horns and do it. And so it's done, and we're standing here to take our licks. But it
won't happen again. You understand that. If you come back, it won't happen.
The motion ain't been made yet.
No. And the thing is,
I think this is probably going to have to go back to the facilities committee. Well, anyways, it's an improper motion from the board yet because there's more discussion here. It's got to be done.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was nothing more than a friendly request. It wasn't any kind of demand that you owe us or anything like that.
We don't know yet.
We had already spent the money. We knew we did it. We were just trying to kind of mitigate some of our out-of-pocket costs that we really couldn't afford to do, but we didn't. So,
Question.
Yes, sir.
If we have, we'll just say Mary's motion passed, just call it 14,999 or whatever you want to call it. What would you do with that? Would that money go back into the building?
Well, the money would go into fill the hole that we dug to pay the contractor and for the materials to do that job.
So with nothing, it would just help you pay what the work you'd already done. You wouldn't take the other $15,000 and say, wait a minute, why don't I finish the building off? You already signed it or whatever.
Listen, if you folks have decide to help us out, I think it's going to do more to enthuse us to do more work next summer on the rest of the walls. Because,
with appropriate procedure, and to the extent my motion was out of order, you're absolutely right, Chairperson Carter. I didn't mean it that way. What I meant to say is, to clarify, I'd be prepared to make a motion to that effect.
Well, when you say with proper procedure now, obviously this would not be an issue today at all if I would have asked you for the money, because we just fixed the building.
You should do that under your agreement, Jerry.
Well,
Do you sit here tonight in an open session telling me that in that agreement that we have, that we leased to you, it isn't your obligation to repair and keep these buildings up and keep that line up, keep those engines up? Are you telling me that?
No, but we're doing the best we can. Let me ask you
And I think you've done a good job. You put a good roof on it.
Would you want to fix it? Would you want to
Jerry, I want a new building for you, so, you know.
Anyway, the thing is,
We transferred too much money with this DOT thing. We had $300,000 for a new engine house. The board all voted to move the engine house to this area here. Everyone in this room, not some of the new board members. And it never got done. Then we got into an engineer study. We offered you a building up here. You found a way to say that building was no good. A brand new building sitting up here. Well, it's not that bad of a building. But it was offered to you.
what are you talking about, Fred? I mean, back in, wait a second now, in April of 2007, I offered this board 3 alternatives to this building. Alternative 1 was to take that new building over on whatchamacallit Street. The second alternative was to move that new building to a new location, or to do a total new construction. And if you remember right, that wasn't vetoed by me. That was vetoed by this board because you felt that that property was too valuable for other uses.
The issue come up is you said you couldn't put a line into it, a spur into it, into the building the way the building was set. It had to be done, restructured this and all that, instead of just going in and putting some concrete and putting a pit in and putting the track in. But that's what we wanted over to him.
Yeah, but the thing is, we all worked long and hard on that whole project. It isn't like we cavalierly, wrote off all the suggestions. I mean, it wasn't,
Jerry, let me ask you a question. How much money is left with this DOT and stuff? How much money is left on this force account that you're doing with them?
I don't know. I have to find out. The project is, part of it is done because we did some of the bridge work this year. There's still the Lisbon Bridge part of it that should be done during the winter, and next spring we're supposed to come and put the ties in. And I have to have our accounting people.
When you had the derailments and stuff like that there, some of this material that we bought from Rochester, Buffalo, did we get some stuff from there? Ties?
No, you're thinking of the ties. You and I had this discussion. The ties that were down at the fort were what were used in the repairs. Those ties that were meant for the track project. The two issues are getting blurred here. There's also the equivalent of a mile of track that's sitting down at Terrytown.
That never has been brought out, and that's supposed to come out once the DOT does what they're supposed to do, and they have not done it yet, which was to create an agreement allowing us to go down to Terrytown and retrieve that material, and the rail guys have been too busy to do the agreement, so we haven't been allowed to go down and get it. Now, the ties that come in with the derailments, if we're using project ties, it's mainly because ties are going in project areas. In other words, we're supposed to replace all these ties, we have a derailment there, and so let's replace them now because we have to fix the track.
So I was just wondering what we got left for ties.
There's stockpiles at the port, and I'm sure that our guy that tried to win the port can tell you. But rest assured that every piece of equipment and every piece of material that we get our hands on to repair the roads goes into the road.
Good.
Sir.
Okay. And Mark, you can probably bring me up to date exactly how much money we've made off this railroad, right? Since he's told you how he pays you. All these revenues he says you got coming in from the rail.
3% royalties
3% on the cars. And Rowdy's had a whole bunch of stuff there.
scaling and
We could run some tonnage numbers about what comes in, sure.
I'd like to know.
Well, when you talk, I didn't look at the sheet when you were talking about your budget, but all that port money that's coming in to do the agricultural transfer of tonnage, I mean, that's 100% rail business. So, I mean, Fred, we're good, and we're really good, meaningful people, and I don't really appreciate, innuendo that we're trying to
we're crooks. So I didn't think anybody said that.
I know that, but that's the feeling I get a lot when I have these discussions, is that we're looking for ways to make us,
To whether somebody in your position would think of such a thing like that. There's none of us board members have ever thought that. But I can tell you one thing, you're not going to get any public money without justification, and we're going to know why we're giving it to you, as Mary Farley said. We go by procedures and we stick to them. Thank you very much for your comments. Okay. What's next?
Given that, what are we doing with this item? Is it?
Well, we're not there yet, right? Which is why I got called out of order. We're still up in the events and activities, and then we're going to go into...
No, we're actually under point F, unfinished business, which is this item.
So we are on the agenda. So
Page 11 of the agenda item.
So we were within a resolution or within a report. And my motion was called out of order.
I said because I have not had a facility committee meeting on this since we came last.
So you want to defer it to?
Yeah.
You want to table it?
Please.
I'll make the motion.
I'll make a second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 That's max.
We'd actually be down to events and activities and then on to general business items.
Okay. Events and activities. We've had a lot of that tonight. What's next?
January 19th and February 2nd, everybody?
I think so.
Okay.
Want to go back to our 4 o'clock time frame? Or what's the preference there?
Whatever.
Sounds good.
Well, now, you have a report on the second, right?
Yes.
No, we're looking at January 19th.
I know, I'm just moving ahead.
Oh,
19th is fine. I was just wondering if we moved the second to the third or something.
The only problem we have with that is Frank's got other stuff going on. What are your
we
commitments?
move second to the third.
Usually
the second Tuesday.
So we could move that to February 3rd, the meeting?
I have a calendar. I assume that's
Wednesday's okay, better for now.
Work over you too?
Is that okay with you, Wednesday the 3rd, February? Is that okay with you, Fred? You're not going to be in Florida or anything?
I don't believe so.
Bermuda? Cancun?
All done. February home, my house with my heater. Watching the snow.
For February 3rd, do we want to keep that at 4 o'clock or do we want to move it earlier? Because I will have the Wilbur Smith people here doing the final presentation.
What time do you need?
My recommendation, do you move the board meeting to 3 with the facilities committee at 2? Yeah, let's say 2 at this point.
And you know what? If Fred wants a facilities committee meeting to discuss the topic of the rail house for January, January we met until facilities committee meeting at 3 and the board meeting at 4. Will that work?
Works for me.
We're on the 19th?
January 19th.
So January 19th to be at 3 p.m. facilities, 4 p.m. board. February 3rd, a 3 p.m. board meeting.
And 2 p.m. facilities committee.
So, if needed.
Okay.
Thank you. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into business items. Agenda item A1, General Administration, approval of the 2010-2011 fiscal year budget. With labor details, accepted revenue $5.4 million, expense $3.9, and bottom line net cash flow negative $8.
A motion. So moved. Steve? Second. Don, second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Sure.
The second item, agenda Agenda item A2 is the signature authorization with Community Bank. We need to get these updated, as you see before you.
There's not actually an agenda item that just floated around. Okay. So you need to vote on that if we've all signed that?
We do need to have an actual
We have to have a
agenda.
resolution for the bank.
Where's the resolution?
Page 13 of your packet.
All over the place.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item A3 on page 14 of your document is approval of agreement with Tyson Clough Elevator Corporation. This is for maintenance service on a multi-year agreement. Monthly service fee is $326 per month, 5 years, a term starting November 1st, 2009.
Motion.
What is that? What do we actually do?
Inspect our elevator.
Yeah, and they're
Well,
available.
you're saying maintenance service. I mean, that's, what do they really do?
You have to inspect them for safety, and then they have to be available 24/7. Something cuts out a circuit board or anything like that, you've got to have them available. So that's part of it. This is a state contract also, and it's come down.
You don't do any better than this.
No.
No, I understand it, but I'm just saying what, I mean,
Okay.
they check the cables, they check the, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not,
Oh, yeah, they go through it, and they give us a report every monthly. And then they do quarterly, and then they do an annual.
well, the reason I asked you was, that's a pretty good deal for, if that's what you're getting for service.
Yeah.
Where are elevators?
There's one in the warehouse, they're just 2 floors.
One in the warehouse.
And one in the border station. And, you know, the flight of stairs can take care of any, say that it goes out of service for a day. It's just the heavy-duty stuff that they need.
And the warehouse is the one at the port.
Excuse me?
The warehouse we're speaking of is one at the
No, it's the other side, Mary. As you're looking at the building in the border station. It's the one in the main building, and then, I call it the warehouse, I'm sorry.
Got it.
Make a motion.
A second. Steve? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. The next item is agenda item A4. It's a housekeeping issue regarding the approval of disposal of fixed assets with the schedule you see associated on page 16 of the document. This updates our schedule.
Could I bought any of that good stuff?
No, the 65 furniture?
No, I'm only kidding. It's amazing what that stuff cost back then. I mean, really, and now you say,
To scale?
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
Don't we have to so we buy a laptop computer stuff?
Yes, we do. One is currently in service, the other is in parts and pieces.
What happened to that? They're relatively new, right?
Our IT guy happened to that.
Oh, gosh, okay.
Went in for a software problem, it came out in pieces.
I suppose I'll make the motion.
second.
Any questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye. I know there's some new regulations. Controllers.
Yeah, the fair market value provision.
So,
So it's worth $722 in fair market value parts, is that
I have no information on that one way or the other.
Net book value.
That's the carrying value in the books.
Okay.
Nothing to do with really market value.
Got it.
It's just the carrying value. Acquisition roughly.
it? But it's not worth anything to us to even keep it around for parts for your computer, or no? Okay.
The agenda item B1 is the approval of agreement with American Canadian Caribbean Line. There is a change in this resolution. It should read during the 2010 season. It reads during the 2009 season. Other than that, that's the only change to the resolution.
The resolution and the report, right?
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Can I ask one question? No, does the document entail any services on our behalf? Do we have to provide any?
Yeah, we provide an individual that comes down, lets customs in, and basically just allows
There's a passage.
allows them to do everything, and then we're good that the captains call ahead and everything, so we can narrow it down, so it's just really a 2-hour thing for one person.
Okay.
But beyond that, they're only there just a very short period of time. It's 4 vessels in 2008 and 5 in 2009.
And then we moved down to the city dock after that, so they it's kind of it's good to have that for the city tourism.
So why do they stop here for a short period of time?
Just because of the customs.
In an authorized facility.
An authorized port. The actual term for it? Okay.
There are a couple items.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Second, Brian. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
There are a couple other items under other such matters, and we're also doing a brief executive session for the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority. There also needs to be a meeting at the border station tonight in the Ogdensburg Bridge Authority as well. Just kind of reject here. Then item C1 you've seen before. This is the agreement that we have, the FHWA, for the toll agreement. This would govern the use of federal funds, should federal funds be allocated to the Bridge and Port Authority for use on the bridge. This is nearly identical to the same one that you saw back in April. However, there are a couple of changes here that were put through from the controller's office side of things. And that you can see a change in DOT personnel with like the new regional director. The standard clauses for New York State contracts was added. And other than that, the only other thing different is the publication date.
Housekeeping.
On the motion, Darren made the motion, do I have a second?
No, sir.
Same second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I apologize, there's no page numbers here, but the next agenda item is C2. About maybe 5 or 6 pages from the back of the packet. Approval of a change order with Danco Construction. This is on the transient hangar. Basically, in a nutshell here, when the pipe was being run from the well to the facility, there was a plate tile drain pipe that did not show on any of our maps. The pipe was damaged and, in fact, replaced at a cost of $1,000.
Just by way of narrative, this usually would have been a facilities committee issue. Wade called me, and based on the minimal value of it and the fact that it wasn't on the map, we didn't really seem to think that it needed to have a whole lot of discussion by the facilities committee, so that's why it's being brought directly to the board.
No, in your policies, don't you have an emergency policy? That's your responsibility for facility. No.
No, we already did it, right?
I'm just saying, though, this emergency situation.
You drag your feet up.
Yeah. We can add it if we want to.
I don't think we need to.
If anybody wants to discuss the issue, then we'll table it.
No, I think what he's saying
is, why would you wait for a resolution on this process?
and the point is, they've already done that. They just bring it for formality.
Right.
Yeah. I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Don? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
C3 is an approval of an agreement with Time Warner Cable. This is for an easement crossing. We're in the village of Norwood. Terms of the agreement, January 1st, 2010 through December 2014, $300 per year. After that, through December 31st, 2019, $500 per year.
Now, this is over.
The right of way, though.
All right. But I'm just, obviously, but how high? Anybody know? Is there going to be a problem?
Well, these are already there.
Installation, though, that way requires 22 to 25 feet per, but if it's an existing installation, I don't know.
This is an existing one, although I'm not familiar with the
It expires
location.
this year.
Yes.
I mean, obviously,
Haven't closed the
had
project.
another problem?
Not yet.
It has?
It has not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not even with new rails that bump it up a little bit.
Well, we're looking for like big window projects to go hit wire stuff.
You're going to get called names. I'll make the motion.
Do you have a second, Steve?
expires December 31st, 2009. We've prepared a renewal of that agreement January 2010 through December 31st next year at the rates associated there in front of you. You can see the other conditions in the subsequent points.
The resolution doesn't have the dates in here. Shouldn't we make sure the resolution's changed and that the dates are in here?
I did not notice that. You're absolutely right.
So with the
Typically it
added,
does.
with the added dates, I'll make the motion.
Well, why so late for this week?
Well, this really isn't late. I mean,
Is it? No?
No. This is,
Expires in
Month.
Casco's been a good customer at the port for quite a while.
No,
It's not-
maybe that's a question on that. Let me
This
ask you.
renewal is not atypical.
Oh, okay.
The time frame.
They wait to the end to, all right.
Have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second.
You know, really, there's more problems with the resolution, too. 4%, the 4% increase is, all that information should be in this resolution. There's a whole bunch of stuff missing. A, B, C, D, we're missing E through J, right? And the dates.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So we've got to add E through J plus the dates. So we got insurance coverage here, that's good. So E through J is missing.
Have these been negotiated with these people?
Yes.
So us, by adding these changes, do you have to go back and review these for the...
Right. I think the report is probably what they negotiated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the added dates and the added E through J, to be consistent with the report, I'll make the motion.
Okay. Don, second it.
Yes.
All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Item C5 is essentially similar, but this time the company is Greenfield. As you can see, the term, January 1st, 2010 through December 31st, 2010. Similar rate structure, similar points.
I'll make the motion as it is.
I'll second.
All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Let me ask a question, if I may, right now.
Sure.
I have to ask, but I'll ask. John, are you the ones negotiating these agreements? Why didn't you prepare them?
I reviewed it and edited it. It's just a typo, I think. Right?
No, it's not Wade's. It's like it's yours.
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't you be prepared? That's my question.
On the resolution.
Hannah?
It doesn't say that we prepared it, though.
No. All right. Moving right along.
Yeah, the last of the other such matters before the Bridge and Port Authority Board is approval of contract with Richardson & Sons. This is one that we just received the information Monday, Tuesday?
Monday morning.
Monday morning, to get the final quote. This revolves around 1856 4th Street. This is for demolition of said property.
Yeah.
This was received on November 3rd, following our results that you can see there. Richardson & Sons, booking 5, Optech 26,000, BS Industrial at 28,440.
Did they say 2009?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, Tom.
This is another item that otherwise would have gone through the Facilities Committee. But again, the fact that the numbers kind of speak for themselves, the fact that we do have one bid that came in under the $15,000, we didn't think it was completely necessary for the Facilities Committee to meet. One note of disclosure, BS Industrial, although it's the high bidder and it has no bearing on it, everybody discloses that would be my mother's company.
Based on the results of the bids that were received, we recommend an approval of $14,500 with Richardson & Sons demolition of 1856 4th Street.
How long is this good for, this bid? When are they going to
They
tear,
hold it for 30 days?
when are they going to tear it down, Steve?
They're going to
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we were
One day thing, you know.
pretty much.
We've seen it. He takes it over and
I
lands.
know, it's intricately built building.
Now, he'll give you, Rory's taking all this stuff, right?
Right. We'll have our own, we'll have to have on-site testing when he's doing the,
But all of the rubbish that he's getting ready, he's going to give you receipts where he took it.
yeah,
To a suitable approved landfill.
right.
I mean, that's what we got the last time.
Yeah.
I don't want to see our stuff going somewhere, you know.
That
I don't want to find it on my stand road.
with that material.
We need a lot in his backyard.
Try to clean it up.
Well, I think the last time he gave us all that information. That way they would know where he was.
Yeah, it's landfill.
Motion. Don? Jim, second it? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. That it?
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I recommend that there is a need for a brief executive session with no action required, but in the interest of time, I recommend that we suspend the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority meeting and move into the Bridge and Port Station meeting, followed by the Ogdensburg Bridge.
I need a motion for that.
Case over? Well, we'll just have it over one day.
Before we go, one comment. I've been asked by the fishermen for Wall Street to be open this year. Since our next meeting isn't until the 16th of January, I think we need to look at that right now. Usually they're out there.
Open now, is it?
Yes.
Just with the same,
Ice permitting.
yeah, just so that the public knows. Last year they did a good job. The fishermen did a good job of keeping it clean. There was a couple things that were left. Nothing too insurmountable, but as long as it stays the way it did last year.
Do they have a committee or anything like that? Or is it just people just asking us?
People just ask.
Because I always ask last week.
And I have to tell you, I'm one of those people who use that access a few different
You do?
So
I'm not going to go down there.
I'm kind of interested in it too. Just casual fishermen.
Yeah, and I like ports, you know, to have 60 clean.
And we'll, as weather permits, with you write down this kind of class.
Well, I know last year that
The windmill, yeah. Well, we did, remember you.
Motion was made to close the regular board meeting and go into the Ogdensburg Border Station board meeting. Steve seconded it. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. We're going to